Now, a for loop is different. One of the things that we worried about with while was a situation that we don't want to be in called an infinite loop, where the program just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes until we turn off the computer or stop the program or, like I said, the world ends, right? So we don't want that. An infinite loop is not typically a good thing. That's something we worry about with while. One of the big differences with for is that while technically it is possible to create a situation with for where there's an infinite loop, it's extra work to do so. So we don't typically worry about an infinite loop situation with for, because what for does is different than while. And you might look at this and be like, oh my gosh, that's way more complicated. It's actually not. All this says is for each item in this sequence of numbers, so if I have a variable called sequence, let's say it's a list, and I've got 10 things in that list. All this says is for each thing in that list, do this. And all this is just printed out. So this is the code block that gets executed. So all it's going to do is say, for this item, print it. For this item, print it. For this item, print it. And what you'll see is eventually it's going to run out of items. And that's when the loop ends. Because when we run out of things to do that code to, then the loop ends naturally, which is why it is much less of a danger of becoming an infinite loop, because if I provide this at the beginning, then it knows how many to do. Now, can you write code that will add to this and trick the computer? Yeah, but it's a lot of work. You're not going to do it by accident, that's for sure. So after all the items have been used, then the program continues on. The only reason this would get skipped, right? While says if it's false at the beginning, it's just going to skip it. This only gets skipped if there's nothing in here. If it's an empty list, then it would skip this. But as long as there's one item in there, it'll go as many items are in there. So this is how this looks in code. And it's actually pretty simple in code, which I really like. A for loop is nice and clean. I've got a list called fruits: banana, orange, apple. For X in fruits, print X. So for each thing in this list, print it. That's all it does. So let's look at this. And I'm actually going to change X to something better. So we've got li fruit, not lii. We've got li fruit equals apple, orange. I know I'm changing the fruit. I hope that doesn't confuse anybody. Try and keep up. All right. And then I would say for str fruit in li fruit. Okay, so notice I changed from X to a variable that makes more sense. Instead of X, I'm going to say for each string fruit, so it's a fruit that's a string, which is what those are, in that list, we're going to print, and sorry, my English obsession is getting the best of me. I want them all to be plural so I can make this make sense. I like to eat, and then I can say str fruit. So now when I run this, right, there we go. What it does is it goes through each fruit and puts it here one at a time and prints it out as part of that sentence. And it stops all by itself. When it's done, it's just done. That's kind of nice. So there's great stuff we can do there. Remember, lists can have anything in them. So let's say I have 2, 3, 4. Actually, I'll include 0, 1 in there too. Okay, so I've got those in there. And now I'm going to say li numbers. So for each int number in Li number. And instead of this, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do a little math. I'm going to say int number to the power of 2. So this very simple program will take a list of numbers and it will print the square of each number in turn. So if I run that, there we go, right? 0 times 0 is 0, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16. So there's an easy sequential math operation there. So if I wanted to, I could keep going, right? 5, and it'll just go and go and go. Now, if I want to find out the square of 567, I just change that number, add it on the list. So that's really useful.